welcome to our video on use of rotary mowers. Today we're going to be covering everything from pre-start checks, the use and any post-operative checks of the machine. So first of all, we're going to be using this still battery powered lawn mower. It's got the standard still battery which is used across the range of equipment. This one in particular is the AP300, so this can be used in the strimmers, can be used in the blowers as well. Things to check for when we got the battery out are to check the decals. Are all the stickers in place? Is there any damage, any cracks, any sort of liquids coming from the battery itself, and is it a good temperature? Is it cool? Is it warm? Obviously if it is too hot, then we might be considering replacing or storing this in a place where it's safe and we can be sure that it's not going to set fire, and then reporting any sort of damages. In terms of the machine itself, I'm not going to go into too much detail about the pre-start checks because we have covered that in a video before, but pretty much the basics are we're checking the machine over to ensure there's no damage, there's no parts missing, everything's nice and tight across the whole of the machine. We don't have a petrol machine, so we don't have to worry about anything such as fuels, any oils, so we eliminate a lot of the elements, especially towards anything like kosh, to control the substances hazardous to health. But there is other things such as the batteries, there is rotational blades on this machine, there's wiring, there is other little things which we might have to check out for and look at as well. So we'll link that just below so you can go and look at that video about the pre-start checks, but that is the general sort of process we're going for. Now in terms of actually using this machine, it's pretty simple. We press the button in, we push the handle down, and that's the operator's presence controller. And then we have another handle that we can use to drive the machine as well. We also have a throttle control to determine on how fast the machine moves or travels when we're using it. It's battery powered, so we don't have to worry about revs or any sort of noise from the engine. However, this machine is rated for 95 decibels, so we will have to wear our ear defenders as per the instructions that are laid out on the machine. We also have the decals on the machine which suggest for us to read the manual before we use the machine. And a few other different scenarios, a few hazards, obviously slip, strips and falls, any flying debris, and the blades, making sure that we don't put our feet underneath. Last few things we can check for while we're still here are the tyres in place. Is everything nice and safe? The handles are good, they're all in the lock position, and then most importantly the machine's turned on and the fuse is in place. So once we've done all those pre-start checks, we can actually go and start using the machine. But before we do, we're just going to quickly have a look over the area, check for any debris, any stones, any twigs. We don't want that debris flicking up and hitting a bystander or someone nearby. We also have the opportunity then as well to close off an area. So if we need to put signs up or any sort of barriers to keep people out of an area, if we are in a public space, now is the opportunity to do that. So we will be mowing this area now just around us. What I'm going to do is just go around and check for any debris. Obviously we have quite a few clippings from when it's been previously cut. There also might be twigs and debris such as stones which might be on the surface, which also need to be removed before we do mow, to save putting through any windows or injuring anyone with any flying debris. What we can see in this area as well, we've got a few different types of grass. We also have things like buttercups and daisies, so they're good things that we can point out and identify as well while we're doing this particular task. So we check the area and we're free of any sort of debris, any sort of holes, animals, any damage that's going to cause us or anyone else any sort of injuries while using the mower. And what we're going to do now is we're going to mow against a straight edge, because obviously that's really important when we are mowing. The most efficient method of mowing is to either mow around the outside first or last and fill in the centre, basically going up and down in lines parallel to the next line. So what I'm going to do is basically aim for something in the distance. If you don't have a straight edge to work for, start in the middle of the lawn, start in the longest part and aim for something in the distance. So pick out an object, whether it be a rose plant, a tree, a bench, a shrub. As long as you can keep contact on it with your eyes, that'll be absolutely fine. Anything that goes over the horizon, obviously you don't want to be looking at that. You want something nice and tall in the distance, and just keep walking towards it. 9 times out of 10 you're going to get a nice straight line. If you don't, you can always straighten it up when you come back along. But for here we have both of those options. We have items in the distance, we also have a wall that we can go alongside of as well. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to stick my ear defenders on, mow alongside this wall, and then once we've done that we're going to mow around a couple of obstacles, and I'll talk to you about that process as well. So now we've mown up and down, we're basically going to do our clean up lap and go around the edge. So in this instance we've got a few obstacles in the bed we're going to go around here. So it's important we don't fall into the bed so we don't scalp any of the grass. But it's also important that we try and get as much grass as possible to reduce the amount of strimming and any sort of grass that's left uncut, because obviously that won't be visually appealing. So what I'm going to do now is just carefully go around. In a situation like this I would suggest not having the drive on the machine, simply because it's easier to control just pushing it as opposed to the machine driving. However, if you are slightly more competent or happy to do that, then that's absolutely fine. So now we've finished doing our mowing task, we're going to do two things. We're going to clean the machine and then we're going to do our post-operative checks to ensure that it's safe for the next person to use, and then also we're going to sign the machine back in after we've finished using it and going to put it into the storage. So post-operative checks, pretty simple, very similar to your pre-start checks, just not as quite in detail. We don't need to be going to do things such as reading the manual, for example. This is more about cleaning the machine, making sure no parts are broke, and then if they are, we're reporting them to our line managers or putting tags on the machines to say basically they're out of use, out of service.